Hey everybody, Jay Super Awesome here. I'd like to welcome you all to week number 39 of the HORRORman's SlashBack Saturday Challenge. This week's slasher movie theme is B-side slashers, and I will be giving my review for Rocktober Blood. Okay, so getting into the plot for this one, Billy I. Harper, legendary rock superstar, is dead and buried, but not forgotten. His music lives on. His lover and lead singer has taken over the band. Now they're out on the road and ready for the ultimate performance. But there is one problem. Billy is back from the grave, and he wants to put a stop to the music the bloody way that Billy knows best. Okay, so getting into my thoughts for this one. With this week's slasher movie theme of B-side slashers, we were challenged to watch and review a slasher film that featured a director that was mostly known for other movies, so the slasher movie that we picked couldn't be the director's most popular film. And according to IMDb, Beverly Sebastian, the director of Rocktober Blood, is mostly known for directing and producing The Hitchhikers from 1972 and Gator Bait from 1973, and would later go on to direct Gator Bait 2, Cajun Justice in 1988. So the director is mostly known for doing exploitation films. This is my second time watching Rocktober Blood. I watched it for the first time last year for my first week of my 31 Days of Horror in October, and I have to say that in a year's time, my feelings have slightly changed for this movie. I enjoyed watching it both times, but I really seem to appreciate it much more this time around. Rocktober Blood is a pretty unique hard rock and heavy metal slasher movie, and I say unique because there's just not very many hard rock and heavy metal slasher movies out there, and it's for this reason that I feel like this movie stands out and it makes it worth watching, especially if you are a fan of hard rock and heavy metal. And speaking of B-sides, a lot of the music, if not all the music in Rocktober Blood, was made specifically for this movie. So even though it is a pretty low-budget slasher movie, they did spend some money on the soundtrack, and I absolutely enjoyed the music. So if you are a fan of 80s hard rock and heavy metal, if you like the high-pitched vocals and some crunching guitar riffs, then most likely you will enjoy the music in Rocktober Blood. And I really feel like the music plays an important part in this movie. But basically what we have here as the movie opens up with the band recording in the studio, and more specifically the lead singer to the Rocktober Blood band, Billy, is laying down his vocal tracks. After he completes his session, he leaves only to return and starts to kill off the people who are still in the studio. He kills them off one by one. As he begins to stalk Lynn, his co-singer, he is interrupted by a security guard before he can kill her. And the funny thing about this opening scene is that when the security guard sees what's going on, Billy chases him out of the building. I just thought that was a little odd, and I got a pretty good laugh out of it. But the next thing we know is the movie progresses 2 years forward, and Lynn is now the lead singer to Rocktober Blood, and is now once again being stalked and tormented by Billy. Of course, all of her crew members and her bandmates believe she's out of her mind crazy, considering they know Billy was tried and executed for the murders at the recording studio. But Lynn insists that Billy has returned from the grave. She starts receiving phone calls from him, and one of them specifically I remember was pretty nasty. And she even believes that he's stalking her in the woods outside of her hideout getaway house. The funny thing about the scene in the woods was we can hear Billy laughing off in the distance, and we can even hear Rocktober Blood's music being played backwards. And of course, the music sounds demonic being played backwards, but really, wouldn't any music playing backwards sound demonic? This was a big thing back in the 80s with playing metal music backwards. You are supposed to hear demonic messages or something like that. And in this movie, this makes it seem like Billy has truly come back from the grave to kill Lynn. Overall, I had a blast watching Rocktober Blood. I absolutely loved the music. The first time I watched this movie, I thought the music was a little repetitive, but I didn't mind it at all the second time around. I really enjoy the studio setting at the beginning of the movie and the on-stage finale during the rock show at the end of the movie. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the cast of characters we have in Rocktober Blood. Besides Billy, Rocktober Blood's original singer, Lynn is the main character of this movie's storyline. After Billy is tried and executed, Lynn takes over as Rocktober Blood's lead singer. Lynn is paranoid that after 2 years after Billy's death, he has returned to finish what he started. She is so scared and paranoid that she goes so far as to dig up Billy's grave to prove to her friends, her bandmates, and her crew members that Billy has returned from the grave. It's a pretty funny scene because we see one of the cleanest skeletons you could ever imagine wearing a red bandana. The skeleton is perfectly clean, so there is no rot or decay at all. I just thought that was pretty funny. The other characters we have in this movie are Lynn's bandmates and crew members. She also has a love interest, and I believe it was Rocktober Blood's tour manager, if I'm remembering correctly. Overall, I really enjoy the characters in this movie, even though I didn't consider the acting to be all that great. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the most important part of a slasher movie, that is the killer and the kills. And I have to say that I absolutely love the setup for the killer in this movie. I really like that we have a killer that is a rock singer killing off most of his victims in a recording studio and a onstage performance at the end of the movie. But what I like most of all is that we have a really good twist at the end of the movie. The first time I watched Rocktober Blood, I didn't see that twist coming at all. And that's one thing that I really love is when a slasher movie has a really good twist ending. And I really feel like this movie did a good job with the twist at the end. As far as the kills go in Rocktober Blood, it has a pretty decent amount of kills, and it has a pretty decent variety of kills. We have throats getting cut, a person is impaled on a musical cord hanger, and one of the standout kills for me was a hot iron to a person's throat. But one of the funnest scenes in the entire movie for me was the killer's onstage rampage at the end of the movie. Overall, even with this being a low-budget slasher movie, I feel like they did put some decent effort into delivering some fun and entertaining kills, and we get to see a lot of them. I'm going to recommend Rocktober Blood if you are a fan of low-budget slasher films, and if you like 80s hard rock and heavy metal. I'm going to give Rocktober Blood a 6.5 out of 10, so please like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know if you have seen Rocktober Blood, or just let me know what you think about my review. And as always, I would like to thank you all for watching.